Ene Yawada Yanti Asempa na Abushia Nina ni se Yanti Asempa na presidency ama reaction bi na ye tete state barrier na medo be free hase according to GH page me ready na mako ready letter no so actual according to GH page I say President Mahama reviews the cause of Nana Agyemang Rawlings' death. The first gentleman of Ghana, President Mahama, has reacted to the death of Konadu Agyemang Rawlings, former First Lady and the wife of the late President Jerry John Rawlings. Na abusuan na obibeka say na President Mahama or a doctor no review. Because Obia people say, they ne kun. According to letter about Bontain from the presidency, the reaction which say short illness. That is oyari britiabi. That is ope and someone details and I say ope say uhundi kuna presidency ame who say a short illness. That is a short illness. Yari kituabi and anything a bono. A bono enema a year arrow same way. By into her letter na a year Felix Ofosukwachi and sa and a chassis. Yes, Felix, honorable Felix Ofosukwachi. Na Ebushian, my main king kind president see letter no so anything. And job reaction if we a year the parliament house, some of the MPs, some of the state men Akroma I was say a year. Mahama a year Konadu Agyemang Rawlings a year state barrier. Na me kind letter natural say passing of Mrs. Nana Konadu Agyemang Rawlings. Government announces with a deep regret and profound story the ultimately passing of the former First Lady and the founder of 31st December Women's Movement, Her Excellency Mrs. Nana Konadu Agyemang Rawlings. Mrs. Rawlings passed this morning after a short illness. Underline the word the short illness. So that means that's according to GH page, of Sir Enkrata will not just say President Mahama I will see the cause of Nana Konadu Agyemang Rawlings. Let's just say the short illness, the word short illness, and just say Enchirima into Oshimuna person who de kun Mahama Konadu Agyemang Rawlings and it is a short illness. That's the cause from the presidency. A state barrier and so some of the statemen are more about state barrier, I'm sure.
Lady, but like he also says, she's made an impact in politics and in society as well. You can't begin to talk about the PNDC era, her association with the late former President Jerry John Rawlings and their contribution to democracy here in the country. I'm sure we'll be hearing so much from historians and people who have followed them closely. But this is the devastating news. This Thursday afternoon, we lost a former First Lady, a towering figure that Nana Konadu Agyemang Rawlings MFR.
Definitely. Do you want to stay with us? Because we shall definitely be taking you back to her residence. We shall as well take you back to Parliament. And of course, if you did stay with us.
A former First Lady, a towering figure that Nana Konadu Agyemang Rawlings MFR.
Definitely. Do you want to stay with us? Because we shall definitely be taking you back to her residence. We shall as well take you back to Parliament. And of course, if you did stay with us, we shall take you maybe back to the... Definitely. Do you want to stay with us? Because we shall definitely be taking you back to her residence. We shall as well take you back to Parliament. And of course, if you did stay with us, we shall take you maybe back to the Jubilee House where we're learning that some family members of the Jubilee House, the late former First Lady have made their way to the Jubilee House. Maxwell is there for us, and when we can, we shall bring you all of that as well. But we're talking about...
Yeah, I was just saying, we're just showing you her residence right now and the activity going on. Earlier, there was increased activity. I'm sure at the time when the news broke, there were vehicles trooping into the residence. We're keeping our eyes on there. Fatal was telling us that a number of people have been to the residence. He can't really tell who was there, but we are keeping our eyes there for you. So we want to go back to Parliament. Our parliamentary correspondent, Kweku Asante, is there for us as we talk a bit about her impact in politics.
Well, Kweku, if you can hear me, have you picked up anything as well from individuals in Parliament? And then we can go on as well, talk about her political career. I mean, I will take it back to 2011 when she was hoping to be the flag bearer of the NDC. But Kweku, if you can hear me, bring me some updates if you engaged with some of the members of Parliament in Parliament.
In fact, in her very heyday days as a very serious politician, she formed the NDP and she wanted to sponsor candidates to come to Parliament on the umbrella ticket of the National Democratic Party that she founded. And until her death, she did not vacillate in terms of leaving that political tradition behind. She stayed true to that because she believed ultimately that she had broken out with the now governing NDC. And as we know now, the family are going to go and inform the president or the presidency of the passing of Konadu Agyemang Rawlings. And ultimately, we expect that this perhaps will be a state burial. One MPP MP just telling me now that there is no two ways about that when it comes to Konadu Agyemang Rawlings, there ought to be a state burial. And so we're going to get details on that pretty shortly. The minority holding a news conference just behind me on a couple of issues. As soon as you're done, we're going to go and speak to a lot of them. But because they held a very, very close relationship with Konadu Agyemang Rawlings prior to, or in fact, after her breaking up with the National Democratic Congress and going on to form her own political party, there are a lot of people behind me who say they are devastated by her loss. And she stood out for quite something profound. She was the first lady of the Fourth Republic, having served as first lady for at least 11 years under Jerry John Rawlings, when Jerry John Rawlings was the leader of the PNDC prior to the transition into democracy and forming a new political party, the NDC, that ultimately won the 2020 the 1992 election, I should say. And we'll get some members of Parliament and get some understanding of what they make of this very tragic incident that has just befallen the country this morning. A lot of things being getting to know that Konadu Agyemang Rawlings had been rushed to the hospital. She was unwell, and then suddenly she has lost her life. It's a big tragic news. In fact, as soon as I entered the coffee shop, a few MPs who had arrived at the time were distraught. They were shocked that this is something that had just happened that morning, and a lot of them hoping that was going to be false. In fact, at the time they told me that, and I relayed that to the news team, there were so many of them who were not willing to go to the record in terms of what they were able to learn, because they thought this was all a hoax and that ultimately she was unwell. Because in fact, there are those who are telling me now that the record that she hasn't been very well has been very known to them, and they knew that she wasn't very well. And so having heard that she had been rushed to the hospital, they expected that some good news will come out of it. There have been a couple of events in Parliament, in particular since the start of this year, and she's such a regular attendee when it comes to national state events in Parliament. Whenever the budget is read, if anybody is not there, Konadu Agyemang Rawlings will be there. When the president comes to present the State of the Nation address, she is there. Every ceremonial event, and she will be there because the former President Rawlings is not there. She represents the family. She represents the former family very well. She also had a daughter who serves in Parliament, Senator Agyemang Rawlings, who's been serving for quite some time now, the MP for Korle Klote. So she has such a unique tie to Parliament, although she herself never did anything in terms of elective politics. Prior to 1992, for a long time, she was head of the 31st December movement. The husband was elected president, transitioning from military rule, became first lady up until she contested for president in the 2008 election when she broke away from the NDC. Subsequently, a party contested on the presidential ticket for several times, but she wasn't the one. And because of ill health, because she has grown a little bit and she was not involved in active partisan politics. So it's such a big and devastating loss for so many people who have gotten to this point and think that this is something that must happen. We are going to go back here and try and see if we can speak to a couple of New Patriotic Party MPs about this situation that has just happened and what they've made of this, given the very tragic nature of the situation. And so when we speak to some of them, we'll get in terms of what they make of what has been a really tragic situation. So speak to a couple of them who have just gone out here to have some meetings in Alhaji Habib's office and all that. Let me bring in the
on your screen, of course, now you can see my colleague to trying to get some of the members of parliament to at least share their thoughts on this particular news that we have just been breaking to you. Yes, but a little later, we shall as well engage with Owusu Bempah, who is currently a member of the NPP, but you recall that at the time she broke away from the NDC and formed her party, the NDP. Well, I'll bring you that later, but let's take you back to
held a press conference where you endorsed Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. You're forming a group for that. But I want to take briefly how you heard about the passing of the former First Lady and your reaction to it.
I just heard it around midday, and we informed that it happened around 9 o'clock in the morning. You know, Nana Agyemang Rawlings, I can put it quote unquote, a tidy girl because of Rawlings. You know, Rawlings actually lived in Takrady. And
I've heard about the bean store.
Fantastic. Yes, 1111. On several occasions, I've met her and we've talked about Takrady. In fact, I think the last time I met her and we spoke at length was at the Takrady airport. We also know that for Konadu to come together with Rawlings, I believe that it didn't face any opposition from Mrs. Rawlings, Nana Agyemang Rawlings. And therefore, it was a shock for me to actually hear this news this afternoon. In fact, the last time I saw her on TV talking about her connection with the Asante and the funerals and stuff like that. So for me, looking at her age and how active she's been over the period, I mean, I'm very shocked that she's passed away. But you know, God gives and takes. So sometimes we don't have the power to question the will of God. We believe that He would definitely give the bereaved family.
Including your also always budget.
That's very correct. Like you know, and you know, her daughter also joined us in Parliament. When I was leaving Sisfom, that was when her daughter came to Wesley Girls. So we also the military parade she was in and stuff like that. But I believe that Nana Agyemang Rawlings had really been a force in the politics of Ghana from the 31st December Women's Movement and the way he actually conscientized the Ghanaian women to do so much for themselves. And then you also know the interstate succession law, which she championed and has become a model law that has supported a lot of women, especially that are married and bring up families. So I believe that she made her own contribution to the development of this country. That can never be taken from her. We believe that the NDC and its own party that he formed along the line will come together to give her a befitting burial and funeral, deserving of an Ashanti royal.
Thank you very much. Member of Parliament for Takrady, you've heard it. Just reiterate what some of the NPP MPs have been telling me about a state burial and a befitting burial for someone that was more than she was a royal. She had such a close. Again, I know you've just had it. Again, I know you've just had it.
Actually, information that is confirmed, and it's a very sad loss for our dear nation Ghana. That 5 years down the lane, after losing, former President J.J. Rawlings, Nana Agyemang Rawlings is also going to join her husband with all the experience and composure and, you know, the political astuteness, I think Ghana is a loser. I believe that this is what we'll say for now until we hear from the family. Then I believe that we'll be able to make any additional comments.
I mean, just reflect on her life. She was such an astute stateswoman. Whenever there were budgets, State of the Nation address, she always showed up. She was always involved in all national events. So, I mean, what are your reflections on the life she lived from 31st December movement prior to breaking up with the NDC, forming NDP? She was ubiquitous. She was everywhere.
I mean, she was a very strong woman, as you know. I think the last outing I saw of her was at the funeral of the Asante Hema that I saw her, and I think I saw her at another program, and I think it was a dinner. She was sitting next to former President J. Kufuor, and you could
2028 election. But a lot of them struck by the very tragic passing of the former First Lady, the first Lady of the Fourth Republic, and they are just talking to us about what a brilliant life she lived, her ubiquitousness. She was all over the place. Whenever there were national events, you will see her there. In her uniqueness, for past few years now, she has stayed out of the limelight, not very controversial, not taking very controversial positions, not speaking about a lot of national issues, just attending national events and playing her role as the stateswoman that she was and she is up until this morning when she tragically lost her life. So we're just going to leave the Justice Center building. We are going to go to the Chamber building. The bell has been rung. We expect that perhaps this will come to the attention of Parliament, maybe a witness, a 1 minute statement will be done and all that. We'll get some understanding of that, but we need to go back to the Chamber building where we